Nobody starts out old. But it doesn't take long to get there. All things come to an end, just not yet. I thought I'd start the new year with a new intro. But before we start on the New Year's projects, we have to finish up one project from last year, and that's milling that pile of waterlogged fir I dragged out of a marsh. We'll finish that pile in this video. Also, I'll make a modification to one of my sawmill modifications, and I'll discover why my chainsaw gets dull every time I cut firewood. And in the last log, we'll use a metal detector to find nails before the sawmill finds them. Some of these logs are almost too small to be worth milling. Even the small ones usually will yield a couple of 2x4s. I'm cutting off a thin slice here to get the remainder down to 3.5 inches for 2x4s. I'm trying to remember to take it easy on my back, but some of these logs are so small, there's just no other way to handle them. Another pair of 8-foot 2x4s. Although this wood is not green, it is wet. I should be stacking it flat on stickers. I don't yet have a space designated for stacking lumber for drying. So in the meantime, I stand it on end in the shed. This little log is pretty short, but sometimes you need short boards. 3 short 2x4s. This skinny log is bent and twisted. I do not have high hopes for it. I've had this mill for a year now, and the biggest drawback to the HM 122 that I have discovered is the log clamps. Spend a lot of time turning those screws in and out. The larger mills have cam clamps. You slam it up against the log, flip a lever, and it's clamped. I am going to buy one of those and install it on this mill. After further review, this is firewood. I built this sawbuck in such a manner that I cut between the pairs of X's and the firewood stays in the frame and I don't have to pick it up off the ground. I've noticed lately my chainsaw has been getting dull. Every time I use it, baffled me, and then I saw why. I don't always stay exactly between the X's, and I've peeled out a bunch of nails. So what I will do is I will rebuild this sawbuck, still with a double X design, but I'll put them farther apart to keep the chainsaw away from boards and nails. The word handle suggests something that should be operated with the hand. I think I am not the only one who used the handle to adjust the blade guide extension as a pedal. They used to break regularly. Woodland Mills sent out a free redesign that doesn't break. This is about a 1x4 cut off to leave just over 3 inches remaining. Cut that in half and I have 2 more 2x4s. The dust mask I wear is just that, a dust mask. In addition to the visible sawdust that goes flying out on the floor, there's a lot of very, very fine dust that floats in the air. I do not need that in my lungs. This log is an awkward size, a little bit too large for me to pick up comfortably, and not quite large enough for the cant hook to get a grip on it. Yeah. But even so, I have to pick it up to drag it down to the bunk. Some of these logs were lying in water for a long, long time, and the outer slab isn't even worth firewood. This first board is firewood. As bad as it looked in the beginning, that log did yield 3 fairly decent 2x6s. This is another one that's completely waterlogged. But inside, it doesn't look bad. Well, the 6 feet on this end is pretty good, but the last couple of feet are very wet and soft. We'll see what they look like when they're dry. Day is done and there are a lot of logs left for tomorrow. Well, I can't speak for you, but to me this is getting a little bit old. We'll speed through the same old, and slow down when it gets interesting. Didn't cut deep enough on that pass. Again, a little bit too shallow. The problem here is the far end of the log there is beyond the stop, and the clamp is also beyond the stop, so it's not doing any good. I need the clamp on this end too. Should have done that in the first place. Getting a bit warm. This end's about an inch smaller than the other end, so I shim it up half an inch. The shim stays in place for the second cut, but not for the third and fourth. Time to change that. This log will prove to be a complete waste of time. I should have seen that before I put it on the mill. The first problem is clearance. The blade guard bumps into that stub sticking out as you look at it, the right side of the log. Now I can turn the blade guard up, but I don't like to do that. If you're going to back the blade out of a cut, you need to wedge the kerf to make it wide enough that the blade doesn't snag. This log is so rotten, when I try to do that, the slab just broke. So I ripped it off and pitched it over the side of the hill. Then I was able to back up the blade with it running, not stopped, about a foot or so to get it clear of the kerf. Not worth the effort, not even for firewood. Refueling this thing is a pain in the butt. It's very awkward getting in there with a 5-gallon can. Four and 1/2 hours in the tank is not empty. And so it goes until break time. That minor modification I made to my modification, allowing sawdust from between the teeth and from below the blade to shoot on through here. The scraper on top keeps dust from the top of the blade from going into the wheelhouse and being pinched between the belt and blade. This keeps the dust that this scrapes off and throws up from landing right back on the blade and getting pinched by the belt. A few days ago, I cut off the part of this that was underneath the blade, and then I realized if I take the rest off, all the sawdust goes through except sawdust on top of the blade, and I've been watching it shoot out the side of the shed the way it's supposed to, so I think this might be a good compromise. Before I can mill this last log, there's a minor problem to attend to. It's got an electric fence wire standoff here, and I hope that's all. But I gotta get that out before I do anything else. Glad I didn't hit that with a blade. It's like a rock in there. I need to put on my glasses and see what I'm looking at. Concrete. Nope, kick. I'm satisfied there's nothing more in that nail hole, but where there's one nail, there's likely to be more. The metal detecting pinpointer emits a sharp beep when a tip is very, very close to metal. Pinpointer thinks this entire log is metal. I switched to my Garrett metal detector. It's not as precise, but it will find things. So it looks like there's another way down here. I could take the chainsaw, cut this off. Not sure there's going to be a lot of usable wood in this thing anyway, but that would give me 6 feet. Just barely 8. I'd like to have 8-footers. I may never find buried treasure with my metal detector, but it's going to pay for itself at the sawmill. I think that's got that. Now we can mill it. That does it for that pile of logs and for this video. Next time, it won't be the sawmill, but it will deal with modifications, this time to my 60-year-old wood lathe. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps out my retirement fund. Thanks for watching.